Perfect. Yeah, feel free to sit up on a blanket or a block or a pillow or something. I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly here and then we'll get moving. So, there's been a lot of talk this week in the yoga community about ahimsa. Um, I know I've covered these before, but I'll give you a little refresher. The yamas and niyamas are the ethical practices of yoga. So beyond the asana, the philosophy of yoga, we have these ethics, just like most of us do. And one of the biggest ones is ahimsa, so non-violence, which can look a lot of different ways. I am just kind of reiterating because I'm still digging into this, but you can't see it. It's the Yamas and Niyamas, a book that I have by Deborah Adele. And while I dig further and deeper into this over the next few weeks, I'm just going to give you an overview of what she kind of says about ahimsa. So as a reminder, non-violence, which following the hate crimes, the actions that happened this week, that's why there's a lot of talk in the yoga community about it. So it's the core and foundation of all of yoga philosophy and practice. Basically, if you can't practice non-violence, it's really hard to kind of get into the other ones. She kind of defines it by 6 different principles. Had to count. First one, and they kind of build on each other, right? So first we look at courage. In order to practice nonviolence, we need to have the courage to face our fears, most of which live in our imagination. So you've got actual fears like for your life, things that maybe can't be avoided. And then the majority of our fears are things that we kind of make up in our heads, things that we build up. So courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to be afraid without being paralyzed. I feel like we've touched on this a little bit before. After courage comes into balance, finding a balance in your life, listening to the guidance and wisdom of your inner voice. We work on this all the time. Listen to what your body's saying. Can you tap into that? Can you move from that space? Giving your mind and soul a chance to rest, to assimilate, to digest, right? We know when we're physically exhausted, we know that we just need to stop. Sometimes it takes a little longer for some of us to recognize that, but then it's even harder beyond that point to notice when up here and in here, right? We need a break. And that's been happening a lot this past year where we just get exhausted and we might not be physically exhausted. And that's when we kind of pause and say, oh, wow, okay, maybe I need to not watch the news for a little bit. Maybe I need to not be on my phone. I need to just take a mental and soul break and just let all of this information, I need to let it assimilate. Need to really just give myself the space to breathe and to reflect. And she focuses a lot on not spreading ourselves thin, right? We have a tendency to just kind of place all these things, give ourselves these things to do. And the next thing you know, you've just completely exhausted yourself. So learning to balance that. Next point is dealing with powerlessness. So ahimsa is an invitation to question the feeling of powerlessness rather than accept it. We have the choice to change the story, change the perspective. We have the choice to practice gratitude, trust the moment, and think about others. All of those to kind of get out of that mindset of powerlessness. So instead of saying, we've talked about this a little bit recently too, focusing on the yes rather than the no. So instead of focusing on the negative component of something, where can we find the positives? Where can we find the gratitude for being in that moment, in that space? Following that, these next 3 are kind of the bigger ones. Self-love, big thing we work on here. How we treat ourselves is how we treat those around us. We can be harsh and demanding with ourselves and then expect to be loving with others. Kind of doesn't work, right? And we hear this a lot, especially particularly in relationships, right? How can you love somebody else fully if you can't, or how can you expect someone else to love you if you don't even love yourself? So you have to work on that component of, I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to find these things that I don't like about myself, and I'm going to work on accepting them. If we can't be safe with ourselves, others can never be safe with us. And then the world can never be a safe place to be. Our inability to love and accept all of the pieces of ourselves creates ripples, tiny little acts of violence that have a huge and lasting impact on others. So when we're having a bad day, we tend to lash out on other people, right? And it might be something that happened, it's a trickling, rippling effect. Whereas if we come from this place of kindness, this place of love for ourselves and just acceptance for ourselves, we can then carry that out into the world with us. After that comes violence to others. I really condensed this one. When we are unwilling to look deeply and courageously into ourselves, we can easily violate others in many subtle ways that we may not even be aware of. She talks a lot about helping versus supporting. So instead of trying to solve other people's problems, can we just be there and support them? Can we just listen? A lot of times that's what people are looking for, right? They're not looking for you to solve their problems because maybe you're taking that burden away from them and then they're not learning that lesson. And then I didn't even have time to write down the last one, developing compassion. I'm just going to read right from the book. So developing compassion. We learn compassion as we dissolve our personal version of the world and grow gentle eyes that are not afraid to see reality as it is. We learn compassion as we stop living in our heads where we can neatly arrange things and really ground ourselves in our bodies where things might not be so neat. We really work on that on the mat, right? We learn compassion as we stop trying to change ourselves and others and choose instead to soften the boundaries that keep us separated from what we don't understand. When we begin to expand the boundaries of our heart, we can see clearly to act in ways that truly make a difference. So really just setting ourselves aside and finding that space to be compassionate towards others. But again, just like that self-love aspect, it starts with us. If we cannot be compassionate with ourselves, we have a really hard time finding that for others. A good quote she has in here, Lucille Clifton once said, "Every pair of eyes facing you has probably experienced something you could not endure." And this is one that I work on every day, coming from a background that is kind of steeped in judgment. That's a big part of my yoga practice. So every human being walking this earth has painful stories tucked in the corners of their hearts. And if we can remember this truth, perhaps we can see with the eyes of compassion rather than the eyes of our own judgments and preferences. So really just remembering that everybody has their own story. Everybody's coming from a different space than what we are coming from a different space that we might even just put on them, a story that we attribute to them, and just stepping away from that and remembering, hey, they're people too, right? They've got their own shit going on. And so ahimsa, or nonviolence, asks us to step lightly, to do no harm, and to honor the relationship we have with the earth, with each other, and with ourselves. All things to kind of think about. You can let that go as we move, unless there's something in there that really gravitated or really resonated with you. But that, if you've been wondering, if you've been seeing teachers talking about ahimsa and bringing it back to these hate crimes, and just it all comes back to that. Can we be compassionate with ourselves? Can we, it stems from us so that it can radiate outwards, but also can we find the courage to speak up for others when maybe we can't speak up for ourselves or they can't speak up for themselves? All right, from your comfortable seat, I told you there's a lot of ground to cover today. Closing the eyes here, sitting up a little bit taller, taking a big breath in. Starting to breathe a little bit deeper. Allowing yourself to come back to this moment, come back to the space, noticing the sensations in the body here. Noticing anything that's popping up for you, anything that maybe that might have brought up in you. And I'm sorry to have completely just rolled right through that. I'd love to kind of get deeper into it, and maybe we will in these coming weeks. Noticing the rise and fall of the shoulders here, the chest, the belly, as you breathe. And then when you're ready, gently blinking open the eyes. Sitting up a little bit taller here, really grounding down through the parts of the body that are touching the earth. And on an inhale, sweeping the arms all the way up here. We'll come right into a side stretch to the right, slowing that right hand, stretching nice and long here through the left side, really reaching nice and tall. And then taking it over, taking a slight bend in that right elbow if you need to here, maybe walking that right hand out a little bit further, just kind of finding your side stretch here. Can you reach a little bit longer? Start to take the gaze down towards the right hand. And then we'll start to lift back up towards center. And as we lift, twisting towards the right, bringing that left hand to the right knee or right upper thigh here. Starting to walk right fingertips behind you. Can you sit up a little bit taller? Keep that length that we created. And with each breath out, maybe you find more depth in this. Inhale brings you back to center. Pausing here for the exhale, sitting up a little bit taller, setting yourself up for the other side. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Come right into that side stretch here, really reaching nice and long through the right side as we take it over to the left. Can you really ground down through the sit bones, ground down through that left hand, and allowing that action of grounding to lift you up and give you a little bit more stretch here. So maybe you press really down into that left hand, which allows you to shift these right ribs over to the right, which in turn brings those left ribs closer to the left hip. From here, gaze starts to go down towards the left, and we take it into the twist. The right hand meets left leg here, and we lift, sitting up a little bit taller. Twisting from the ribs here. Can you keep sending the breath into the low belly? Inhale brings you back to center. Extend the legs long in front of you here. Flexing the feet. Maybe you take a few flex and point, just kind of getting some energy into the ankles. And then again, sitting up a little bit taller. Maybe you come to the edge of whatever you're sitting on. Big breath in here. And on the exhale, leading with the heart, can you fold forward, take as much of a bend in the knees as you need to here. I'd like to have your belly or, whatever's in this space here, start to meet the thighs. So again, taking as much of a bend as you need to. And then as you start to relax and release into this, maybe you start to straighten the legs. Can you keep that connection of the upper body and the lower body? Keep flexing the feet, keep breathing into the belly, noticing it as it's maybe pressing into the thighs. Right, in this practice, we create space, but we also take up space. We give ourselves permission to be here, to be present, to be here fully. Inhale. Lifts you all the way up. We'll come right into a tabletop position. We will be on the knees for a few things. So just like the last few weeks, if you want, give yourself a little extra padding here with a blanket. And then just make your way into tabletop. Fingers spread nice and wide. You can even take the knees a little bit wider here if you're experiencing any low back pain. And then nice length here through the spine, really reaching through that tailbone, reaching through the crown of the head. On an inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze, coming into your cow pose. Exhale, press the mat away from you. Tuck the chin, lift the belly, tuck the tailbone. Inhale through cow. Exhale, take it back for cats. Taking it forward for cow. And on the exhale, finding cats. Invitation to move through a few more of these on your own here, or finding any other movements that feels good for you, for your body. Taking 2 more rounds of breath and movement. And then coming back to that tabletop. Feeling steady on the left side here, we'll inhale, sweep that right arm out to the side. Maybe the gaze follows. And on the exhale, thread the needle. So the right arm comes underneath, come down onto that shoulder, maybe the side of the face here. You could come down onto a block. And then shimmy those hips ever so slightly to the right here. And then taking whatever you want with that left hand. You could walk it forward. You could sweep it all the way back here. Think about keeping this extension in the front of the body on the left side, if you can. So still opening up that left shoulder. And then bring that left hand back in next to the face if it's not there. Press yourself all the way up here, coming back to that tabletop. And then we'll shift the weight ever so slightly into the right hand here, feeling that support. As you inhale, sweep the left arm up. Exhale, scoop it under, thread the needle on this side. Shift the hips ever so slightly to the left. Heard a big crash here. I'm not sure what happened upstairs. And then taking whatever you'd like here with this right hand. So all those same options apply here. And also the option to not move it at all. Start to walk those right fingertips back in if you move them, and then press yourself all the way back up here, tabletop, and we'll actually press ourselves up onto our knees here. So standing on the knees, extend that right leg out, setting up for gate pose here. And let's send the toes up towards the sky for this one. Or, yeah, I mean, you always have the option to do whatever you want here with that foot, but invitation to send the toes up towards the sky. Send some energy through the ball of that foot. You can even take a slight bend in that right knee here if this is really uncomfortable for you. And then take hands to hips, lifting up out of those hips here. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, keep extending through that left side as you take it over here. Take it over to the right. And then I don't think I need to remind any of you here, but opening this left shoulder. So if you're kind of closing in here on the chest, can you pull out of the pose a little bit? Reopen that left shoulder as you extend. And trying not to put too much weight into this right hand into the leg here. In fact, there shouldn't really be any weight bearing there. If there is, you can also take that hand onto a block here. Inhale lifts you out of the pose. Take a bend in this right knee and step that foot down. Toes point towards the, well, for me, it's the top of the mat. For you, it's parallel to the long edge of your mat. And then we're finding a nice kind of 90-degree angle in this leg here. A little side lunge, give the hip a little chance to open here. And then you've got the option to either bring this right elbow on top of the right thigh, You can bring right hand down onto a block, or maybe right fingertips to the floor here. Same action of opening across the front of the body. So again, taking it up a level if you feel yourself closing in, or really working on opening this left shoulder. And then maybe that top arm reaches up towards the sky. So a little modified side angle here. Inhale lifts you up. Step the right foot up to the top of the mat, coming into a lunge. And you can walk that left knee back a little bit here if you'd like to, if you need to. Hands can be on blocks. Again, just being wherever you are, noticing what you need today, knowing that it's going to be different from what you needed yesterday and what you need tomorrow. Can you allow the hips to soften here? Can you relax down? So doesn't mean that we're completely losing energy, right? We're still squeezing those thighs together, maybe even coming out of the pose a little bit to then sink a little bit deeper into it. Taking an inhale here. And on the exhale, sending hips back as you start to straighten that right leg, coming into your half splits. Depending on where you are today, you can be here, or you can take an inhale, really lengthen, exhale, start to fold a little bit deeper over that leg. Option is stay here, or maybe you build and you start to walk the hands over towards the right side of the mat. Left hand crosses over that right leg, and we get a little bit twisty here. You can stay here, finding some stability. Still always just building. You can be at any iteration here. Maybe you see, we bring a little balance into it kind of here, if you can start to lift this right arm. And so it's the energy of kind of drawing that in towards you to then press down into the left hand and start to twist open towards the right here. Find that stability in the right foot, really pressing down the top of that right foot if you're in here. Let me take a peek if anyone's doing this. Maybe. Okay. And that right arm doesn't have to lift. This can get awkward for the neck. You can bring hand to that right shoulder. You can bring hand to the right hip. It's kind of finding that twisted pyramid, but modified here because we have this back knee down. Big breath in, keeps reaching through the crown of the head. Exhale, if you're in the twist, come out of it, bend into that right knee. And this time we'll find something a little bit more familiar to us. Plant the left hand, open up, coming into your lunge twist. Beautiful. Not losing that action in the back foot here. So we're still engaging the top of that foot into the mat. From our lunge twist, we'll start to sweep right hand down, and with it, we're coming up into a warrior two. So right knee can stay where it is. It's just about then flipping that left foot down as you start to make your way all the way up to stand here. And we'll take hands to heart center. So we won't extend the arms for this first round. Hands to heart center here, really bringing the focus into the legs. So can you bend a little bit deeper in that right knee? Can you take a peek down? Notice what's happening. Can you even see your big toe here? If you can't, maybe you just kind of gently take the hand to the inside of that right knee and nudge it towards the right side of the mat here. Keep lifting here out of the hips. Here for one more breath. And then we'll come right into a crescent lunge. So we'll hike up this left heel and turn to face the front of the mat. You can adjust your footing here a little bit so that you're not just in one line. Give yourself a little space. Inhale, arms can be anywhere along this spectrum here, wherever you need. Maybe they stay at heart center. Maybe they're framing the ears if you can keep the shoulders soft here. From this crescent, drawing arms down and leaning forward, coming into a power lunge here. So can you send the fingertips towards the back of the mat? Crown of the head reaches towards the front of the mat, and body's kind of in line with that back leg. Feel the power in this pose. Feel the strength that you're creating here. Keep squeezing those thighs together. Big breath in. Exhale, take left knee down, and then right knee comes to meet it. All right, we're back down on those knees. I'm just gonna turn to face you, and from wherever you are here, extend that left leg out, setting up for gate pose. So same thing, other side here. I'm actually gonna move my blanket out of the way, but set yourself up, toes point towards the sky. Send energy through the ball of that left foot here. Hands can be at hips, remembering to kind of like grow out of the hips here. So you're kind of pressing down into the hips to allow yourself to lift. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, leading with that left hand, but really kind of brushing that right hand along the sky as we take it over to the left. Reminder not to put weight into this left leg here. So it's really this action of lifting so that we can take it over. And then this arm is kind of loose here. It should not really be a base of support for you. Squeeze those thighs together. Inhaling here. Exhale, come out of the stretch, take a bend in that left knee, plant that left foot, and then you can rock back and forth here if it feels good. Just getting a little bit more mobility in that hip. And then when you're ready, you decide elbow to knee or elbow to thigh, hand on block, maybe hand to the floor. And then whatever you want to do with this right hand here. Modified side angle. Still squeezing thighs together here, bringing some energy into those legs. And then same thing, we're working on this opening across the front of the body here. So drawing that right shoulder blade down the back. Inhale lifts you all the way up. Step that left foot forward into your lunge here. And feel free to walk that right knee back a little bit, giving yourself plenty of space. And again here, allowing everything to soften. So even as we're engaging, really drawing energy towards the center here, and then allowing it to soften down. And that softening happens over time, right? It's the beauty of these slow flow practices is we give ourselves the time to really settle into the space. Unless, of course, I'm having you do 6 rounds of Surya Namaskar like we did last week. Start to straighten that left leg as you shift the hips back here. Maybe your hands are on blocks. Keep sending energy through the ball of that left foot. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, maybe you fold. Maybe you pause here and you're here for the remainder. Maybe you start to walk the hands over towards the left side of the mat. Maybe you work or you play with bringing the energy here into the right fingertips, drawing the crown of the head forward, still lifting out of the hips, and then just starting to explore this idea of lifting that left arm. If you've got that, come back here, walk the hands back to frame that front foot. Take a bend in the left knee, coming back into your twist, and then we'll plant right hands and open up to the left here. We know where we're going. We're working into warrior too. So think about it as like a nice flow here. As this left arm starts to come down, you tuck those right toes, lift that right knee. And by the time your body, your torso comes to center, your legs are already where they need to be. Maybe you step them out just a touch more here. Hands come to heart center. Can you sit a little bit deeper? Take a peek down here. Do you need to aid your left thigh in opening a little bit here? Maybe you press it out to the left side of the mat. Shrug those shoulder blades towards center here. Coming into our crescent lunge. So we'll hike up that right heel. Give yourself a little more space between the feet as you settle deeper into that left knee. Hands can stay at heart center. Maybe they come up around the ears. We're here for a breath. And then on the exhale, sweep the arms down as you lean forward here. Maybe you come forward on the back toes a little bit too, coming into that power lunge. So the torso is an extension of this back leg here. Keep reaching through the crown of the head. Inhale here. Exhale, lower that right knee. Step the left knee back. Come back to your tabletop. Take a few rounds of cat-cow here. Or any other movement. Maybe you take a breath or two in child's pose, whatever you need here. And then when you're ready, making your way onto your belly. So scooting those knees back, lowering yourself down, hugging those elbows in, and we'll come into Sphinx. No real vinyasa here today unless you want to take it. So in your Sphinx, elbows are under the shoulders, fingers spread nice and wide here, really pressing down through the fingertips. And then notice what's happening. Are you kind of slumping the chest down? Can you press the elbows into the earth? Can you lift out of the neck, lift out of the shoulders, really even bringing attention to the feet here? And if there's any pain in the low back here, take the feet a little bit wider. So you can take them like as wide as the mat if you need to here. Press the tops of the feet down, press the pelvis down so that you can really lift out of the hips here. So instead of trying to scrunch out of that low back, we're pressing down through the pelvis and allowing that grounding to lift us. And don't strain the neck by looking up here. Just gazes just past those fingertips. We got a nice long line in the back of the neck. Again, even as we're engaging here, where can you find room to soften? And then option if you want to move through a vinyasa. Otherwise, we'll just meet in down dog, or if down dog's not for you today, just come to tabletop. So whatever movement you need to take to get to that final shape here, and then we'll meet in stillness. Inhale, gaze moves forward, knees bend if you're in down dog. Exhale, step it all the way up to the top of the mat. Forward fold. Feet are about hip distance apart here. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And then inhale all the way up. You can sweep the arms as you go. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Let's see, we should have time to do this other flow on both sides. So this is where we get a little playful, we get a little balancy. So if you need, there's always a wall or some piece of furniture nearby since you're in your own home, right? Not the open vastness of the studio. Remember, since I probably won't have time to cue this during the balancing, what helps is to breathe first and foremost, and to have a point like somewhere for your gaze to look at that doesn't move. So maybe a point on the wall, maybe it's like an outlet or a statue or a book or something you've got. All right, pressing down, bringing the weight into the left foot here. Inhale, take a bend in the right knee. Not getting too crazy here, just hand to knee. Maybe if you want, you can work on clasping the big toe and extending out through the right foot here. We're going to release our grip, start to bend that left knee. And as you do this, shoot this right leg behind you, but out to the left side of the mat. And hands can come down onto blocks here or maybe onto the floor. This left knee is bent. That right leg is out to the left side of the mat. Heard this called dragon lunge. I don't know if that's what it actually is. You may feel a little stretch here on the outside of the left leg. Keep sending energy through that right heel. Option to stay here. Or if you want to challenge yourself a little bit here, you can come into a side plank by planting this left hand and twisting onto the big toe side of this right foot. And you can come into a supported side plank here, or, oh wait, never mind. Side plank on the right side. Sorry, come back to that dragon lunge. I messed that one up, I apologize. Right hand plants, we twist onto the pinky side of the right foot. Your foot's still gonna be off the mat, totally fine. From here, you can stay here. This is like a nice supported side lunge. Maybe you're playing with stacking the feet, coming into a side plank. Come on, Marine, get the words right. Side plank, so you can be modified. You can play with stacking the feet. Maybe you're playing with another variation of this. Wherever you are, take an inhale. Exhale, step that left foot back up here. We're back in our dragon lunge. And then coming into Shiva squat. So hands can support you here on the floor. Left leg stays where it is. Keep that left knee bent as you bring the bent right knee behind it here. If you want to play with the balance, hands can come to heart center if you're feeling it here. Hands come back down. Extend that right leg long behind you, standing splits. Hips are square. Send energy through that left heel here. Hands can be on blocks for this, of course. Give yourself some space, give yourself some height. Point those right toes down towards the floor. Plant into the right hand, and maybe you start to lift the left hand to heart center. Maybe you start to take the gaze towards the left side of the mat and start to twist towards that. We're in a twisted half moon here. On your inhale, start to lift yourself up. We're balancing on that left leg. Right hand comes to right knee. So we're back to that hand to knee. Left hand comes to that right knee. We start to twist towards the right. And you can extend that right arm behind you here for a little counterbalance. Big breath in. Exhale, start to send that right leg behind you here. Arms come up. Find our crescent lunge just for a pause. And then you take that left arm behind you, reverse the lunge. So kind of another take on the twist here. Keep reaching nice and long through this right side. Y'all have got this. Beautiful. From here, open up, warrior two. This time, arms come out for this one. Soften the shoulders. Notice if you're holding that tension here. I know we've been doing a lot of movement. So can you soften? Can you draw the shoulder blades down the center of the back? Bend a little bit deeper in that left knee. Notice again if you're kind of, will face you so you can see. I know you've all been practicing with me for a while, but if your knee's kind of turning inwards like this, can you open it up? From our warrior two, flip that front palm, sweep it up towards the sky, find your reverse warrior. Keep that length on the left side. We'll lengthen even further here in another breath. So taking an inhale, letting it go. And this time on the inhale, straighten that left leg. Keep reaching, keep lengthening through the left side. We're in a reverse pyramid here, reverse triangle. Can you keep this length? Keep reaching through those left fingertips. And the length that you've created here from this hip bone all the way through those fingertips, you just kind of pivot from that hip bone. We're coming into triangle. So keeping that length, left arm comes onto the leg, maybe onto a block, maybe onto the floor. And then just like we were working before, can you keep the opening here across the chest? Maybe right hand just stays on the hip or on the shoulder. Maybe it extends up. I'm gonna turn so I can face you. And then see if you can keep the torso and all the upper body where it is, and just take a bend in that left knee here. Coming into your side angle. And if you need to come out of this a little bit, please do. Bring that left elbow onto the left thigh. Take that right hand down. Take whatever you need to here. Your version of side angle. We did a modified version, so you know where you're going. Keep sending energy down into the pinky side of that back foot. Big breath in. On the exhale, right arm comes down, coming into our lizard lunge. So right heel kicks up, walk that left leg out here. And option to take right knee down, option to come down onto the block, come down onto elbows, whatever you need here. We'll be here for a few breaths. So taking your lizard. Again, where can you soften in these moments where we're still finding energy, finding engagement? That strength in those muscles comes from allowing them to soften a little bit too, right? The strength doesn't come from just being completely tense. Wherever you are in your lizard, come back up onto the palms, tuck right toe, lift right knee, unless you're not coming into down dog. So if you're taking tabletop instead of down dog, you can keep that right knee down. And here, coming into down dog split or tabletop with the left leg extended. Take a bend in that left knee, open up that hip. Scorpion your dog. Inhale here. Exhale, step that left foot forward between the hands. Step the right foot up, fold it over the legs here. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, we've got the other side, and then we get to relax. Told you we had a lot of ground to cover today, but hopefully we're having fun. We're playing, trying some new shapes. So this time, bringing the energy into the right leg, then that left knee, hand to knee. Maybe you're working on extending that leg here. Can you keep the hips square? Wherever you are, whether the knee is bent or not, we're coming into that dragon lunge. So extending this left leg back, almost moving through a warrior 3 here. As we step into the outside of the right side of the mat, hands come down to frame that front foot. You're still sending energy through that left heel. You don't have to take this next pose. You can stay here for a few breaths, or coming into side plank, plant that left hand, come onto the pinky side of the left foot, and maybe you step this right foot back just a few inches. Coming into this modified version, maybe you're playing with stacking the feet here or some other variation. Finding strength here, feeling your power, feeling your courage if you're doing this. And then wherever you are, stepping that right foot back up, coming back onto those left toes. Oh, where do we go from here? Shiva squat. So keep a bend in that right knee and draw the left knee behind it. Hands can stay planted here for a little support. Maybe you play with the balance. Maybe you bring the hands to heart center. And then plant hands, send that left foot back. Standing splits. Left toes point down towards the mat. Keep sending energy through that left heel. Hips are square here, so they're in line with the floor. Keep sending energy through the crown of the head. Maybe you lift that back leg just a touch more. Maybe you play with the balance here too. Maybe hands come to heart center. Oh, is this invitation to get curious, to play? And from here, planting into the left hand or left fingertips or hand on a block, start to twist towards the right. Twisted half moon. Right hand can come to the hip, come to the butt here. Maybe it comes to the shoulder. Maybe that right hand lifts, depending on where you are here. Keep sending energy through that left heel, through the crown of the head. From this space, on an inhale, pressing into the right foot, can you lift yourself all the way up here? Right hand comes to the left knee, and we take a twist to the left. Left hand extends out. Breathe. Beautiful. From here, taking another breath. Trying to give us enough time for a Shavasana after this. Extend that left leg behind you. Sweep the left arm up. Woo. Sweep the left arm up. Right arm comes back. Kind of our twisted lunge here. Reverse lunge. Keep reaching nice and long through this left side body. Maybe you sit a little bit deeper in that right knee. Inhale here. Exhale, open up, warrior two. Squeeze those shoulder blades towards each other here. Relax, find that softening. Take a peek at that right knee. Keep the bend in the knee, flip the front palm, sweep it up and back here, finding that length on the right side. Stay with the breath here. I know I'm making you work today. Straighten that front knee. Keep reaching nice and long through this right side body here. Inhaling to find that length. Exhale, keep that length, kind of pivoting from this hip here as we reach that right arm all the way down onto a block, onto the floor. Maybe we float if we're playing with that. And that left arm can extend as well. Send that left shoulder blade down the back here. Inhale, find that length. On your exhale, bend that right knee. Maybe you come out of the pose a little bit. Maybe that right elbow comes on top of the right thigh. Inhaling here. Exhaling, maybe you smile. And then we'll reach that left arm all the way down, both hands inside that right foot, hike up that left heel, walk out the right foot, find your lizard. Whatever version for you. Maybe you bring, again, left knee can come down, elbows can come down. 2 more breaths here in your lizard. If you're down on elbows, coming up onto the palms. If you're coming through down dog, lifting that left knee. And then sending that right leg back behind you here. Taking a bend in that right knee, opening up that hip. And then lowering that right foot, taking knees wide and coming into a child's pose here. So hips move back towards the heels. Maybe you reach the arms. Maybe you come up on the fingertips if you want a little more shoulder work here. Forehead meets the floor. Maybe you're exhausted and you bring the arms around here to reach the feet and just come into a more relaxed child's pose. So many options for you here. Coming back to your breath, coming back to the sensation of being in your body here. And then when you're ready, however you want to get there, making your way onto your back. And taking your time, figuring out what you want to do for a breath or two when you get there, maybe hugging knees to chest. And then extending legs long here. Feet together. We'll take the feet to the right corner of the mat. Extend the arms out long overhead here. And then start to find like a C shape, find a curve. So we'll take kind of the head and the arms over towards the right side of the mat as well. Finding a full body stretch with a curve here. Maybe you grab that left wrist. Maybe you've got hands clasped here, whatever works for you. Coming back through center, starting with the feet. Feet will go to the left side of the mat. Maybe you even cross that right leg, right ankle over the left. And then taking the arms over to the left top corner of the mat here again, finding that crescent shape with the body, a little stretch in the right side body. Inhale brings you back through center. Invitation to take any final poses here, or you can just release the legs, release the arms at your side, and find Shavasana. Grabbing any props, anything that'll make it comfortable for you. If you're still feeling any pain in the low back here, feel free to bring a pillow or a rolled up blanket under the knees. Allowing the breath to come back to normal. Allowing the body to soften here. So this act of the asana that we practice, the physical movements, this mindfulness as we move, that's all a big component of ahimsa as well, right? We're getting to know ourselves a little bit better. We're working through those pieces. The compassion, the moving through powerlessness. Sometimes it takes a very physical thing to help us learn a not so physical lesson. But just by showing up here, you're starting to do the work. You're building the confidence. Begin to bring some awareness back into the body, finding little movements in fingers, toes, maybe in the face. And whenever you're ready, bending the knees and rolling over onto one side, pausing there. And taking a moment to thank yourself and be grateful for taking time out of your day to connect with your breath, connect with your body. And when you're ready, gently propping yourself up to a comfortable seat. We'll meet with heavy eyelids and hands at heart center. Tucking the chin here, bowing the head, bowing to our own inner wisdom, our own inner grace. Thank you all so much for showing up today. Thank you for sharing your practice. The light within me honors and celebrates the light that shines so brightly inside each and every single one of you. Namaste.